So hello and a very, very warm welcome, Brigit.
Oh, hello, Josie, and thank you for inviting me to do this. Looking forward.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm so glad that you've been able to join me, and on such a glorious day as well.
I know.
Yeah, we're very lucky today across the West Country. The weather is just a beautiful, beautiful spring day. And I don't know about you, Brigit. Well, I probably do. I can guess with your passion for the natural world, the sort of hints of spring and winter going to sleep and spring waking up must be, yeah,
Oh,
just
I know.
a great time for
Love
you.
it. Absolutely love it. I've just been in the woods. We've got a little patch of woodland opposite on the other side of the road, and there's chiff-chaffs there. So I've just been
Oh,
listening for the chiff-chaffs and the first solitary bees I've seen on the wing.
oh,
Wow.
amazing.
So yeah, lots of signs of spring and the sun. Oh my goodness, the
Yeah.
sunshine. Yeah.
It's sort of suddenly every year I think it still takes me by surprise. Oh gosh, the how warm the sun is.
I know. I know. I know. Really.
Oh, brilliant. Well, we're going to have a little chat today about the fact that you've now started supporting our charity through our citizen science project, Westcountry CSI.
Yeah.
So you're getting out and about, helping us monitor local streams.
Yes.
But before we chat about that and some of the other projects you've worked on, I'd really love to find out where your passion for wildlife and natural environments began.
Gosh, well, I mean, when I was a child, I absolutely loved anything and everything wild, sort of wild flowers and birds and newts and frogs and anything and everything that what excited me. And then I don't know, lots of people I think follow the same way. Sometimes in my teens, I lost that. I lost
Mm.
um, my my connection, for want of a better word,
Yes.
and got caught up in being a teenager,
Yeah.
like you do, and then it kind of just stayed buried, and I got married, I had children, I brought my children up. It's interesting, I bought when my son was born, from when he was very, very small, most
Mm.
books I bought him were books about nature, which he lapped up. So there must have been something still there. I wanted that to be in our family. Um,
Yes.
and then it wasn't until I was in my 40s, my mid to late 40s, and my marriage had broken up, and I was spending a
Mm.
lot of time walking on the Malvern Hills. And it was literally
Mm.
like a bolt out of the blue. I suddenly realized that I didn't know what I was walking past. I wasn't noticing it. I didn't know the names of the trees. I was it was quite a shock. And um, at about the same time, I was also becoming aware of bee decline. And at the
Yes.
time, so this is going back to the 90s, 1990s, mid 90s anyway.
Yeah.
And it was all about honeybees and so that started to make me concerned about bee decline from a human-centric point of view. And
Mm.
I started to research and investigate this at the same time as I was also starting to notice and want to learn more again about the trees and the wildflowers and the birds I could see and hear. And and that kind of took me over the next, still now actually, into a very, very deep love of all of the wild native bees. I had not really
Mm.
appreciated. I knew there were bumblebees, most of us do, but I'd never come across or heard of a solitary bee, and I had no idea how diverse the world of bees were. So that was just a big learning curve, and the more I started to learn, the more I wanted to learn, and at first it was all from books, but
Mm.
soon I realized that actually I didn't need to know the names of the I was quite obsessed with learning the names of them.
Mm.
I just became more interested in their behavior, um,
Okay.
and just noticing which flowers they were visiting, and that just basically took me outside more. And as is with these things, you can't. It's difficult to focus just on bees when you're outside because there's so much to see.
Yeah.
And I just gradually just became one of those people. It's a nightmare to go for a walk with because I can't walk past anything that's moving without stopping to to look at it or photograph it as well. So
Oh,
yeah,
that's
I was lucky. I rediscovered this early love of the natural world, and I'm so grateful for that. And it is
yeah,
now my thing. I love it. I find solace, like many of us do, in nature. I
yes.
can't get enough of it.
Yeah, and I think definitely, here at the charity as well, given sort of the circumstances of the pandemic, sort of an early sort of pandemic
Mm,
situation, taking away sort of the health
yeah,
side of it, so many people for actually more than mental rather than physical health realize that desire to be outside and that
yeah,
desire to learn more about the natural world and spend time in their local areas as well,
yeah,
like you say, walking and looking around you and just sort of immersing yourself in that is a wonderful thing.
yeah.
But with your love for bees, though, you actually have written a book about bees.
I have, and yes, do you
So
know what?
can you tell me more about that book?
Okay, so it's Dancing with Bees. The title is Dancing with Bees,
Mhm.
A Journey Back to Nature. And it started life, it took me about 10 years to write. It started life as a book about bee decline. I was
Yeah.
sort of campaigning all the time back in the day against
Mm.
neonicotinoids and pesticides. But as I wrote it, and because I'm such a slow writer and it didn't come naturally to me,
Mm.
all sorts of other creatures um, and trees and flowers and all sorts jumped into the book, and it became a book still very much about bees, but it's not a reference book. It has a lot of information, but I do a lot of talks about bees as well: honeybees, bumblebees, solitary bees, wildlife gardening, and what I wanted to do was use the same way that I use in my talks. I find that if you tell people
Mm.
um, about, in this case, the bees, and you tell them about some of their amazing life cycles and the materials they use to build their nests, and then if people begin to fall in love with the bees or any other creature like you are, they'll
Mm.
want to do everything they can to help them. And so that became the purpose of my book.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's like part journey. It starts with that day on the Malvern Hills where I realized I knew more about the French Revolution than I did about our native trees. And then it sort of carries on. And the very last chapter, I went back to the Malvern Hills and I walked the same paths that I used to walk sort of a decade ago. But it
Yeah.
takes me a whole chapter this time to walk it because of my new awareness and noticing. So the book is about noticing,
Noticing.
the importance of noticing and the beauty of noticing and stopping, just jumping off the merry-go-round
Mm.
and getting out there and seeing what you can find and watching it and getting to know it.
Yeah. Well, I have to say that I'd love to go for a walk with you because I wouldn't mind stopping and noticing and learning new things. And I think a lot of the people who would listen to the podcast would probably be in agreement with that. There is something just, yeah, very, very beautiful about taking that time and noticing the wildlife and the flora, fauna all
Yes,
around you.
yes,
Um, and it's really lovely that that book has come from a place of you learning.
yes.
Uh, so it's not just you telling people stuff it's part of your process as well. And
Yeah, because I'm not an expert in anything, and I do say this in the book, and I think that's really, really important. But I
mm,
don't tell people things. I don't say. I tell them it from my perspective and as I learned
yes,
along the way. Yeah,
yeah, which is a great way of sharing knowledge and sort of people can then sort of get infused and discover
yeah,
things as well for themselves.
yes.
But you were also a patron of I do apologise. It's called God's Acre. Is it a charity?
It
Is it
is.
a charity?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's Caring for God's Acre, and it's not a religious charity. It's Caring for God's Acre has for a long, long time been one of my favourite charities a small charity boxing above their weight. And I love them because they care for burial grounds, and churchyards are burial grounds.
Yeah.
But they basically the churches and the burial grounds that they work with they do a lot about the architecture and the people as well. But they encourage wildlife in a very, very natural way to survive and thrive in these churchyards the way it always has done in the past. So always been one of my favourite charities. And then last year, totally out of the blue, they invited me to become one of their patrons, which was I was just over the moon. I was
Yeah.
so flattered and so delighted to be able to do this. So and to help promote their work,
Yeah.
which I think is again it's a really important thing. And this is what I use my social media accounts is to promote, mostly to promote other people's work. But yeah, so that's Caring for God's Acre. They're based in Shropshire.
Okay.
But they reach. I mean, if anyone's listening, worth looking up. And if you have a local burial ground or churchyard, the resource packs are absolutely outstanding, and they're very big on recording.
Okay.
You know, like the Westcountry River Trust.
Yes.
If by encouraging people to record their finds and passing that later on to scientists who can then use it for the greater good.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's very much they're the way they work is very much along the similar lines to the Westcountry River Trust, but in churchyards and burial grounds. Along
Absolutely.
waterways.
And perfect sort of spaces in a way for supporting nature.
Yes.
You know, beauty, like you say, it's not sort of around the religious side of
No,
things, but they are on the whole peaceful, quiet,
exactly that. Contemplative
undisturbed,
places.
and
Yes. And do you know what? So they had an annual conference a couple of weeks ago, which sadly was on the same day as the the River Trust's conference. But anyway, and one of the things I hadn't thought through in the past is, of course, when you're visiting a burial ground or a graveyard, you take time to stop, and you tend then you're in a quieter space, and it's the right sort of place to stop and actually look at what's around you rather than rushing past it and not noticing it. So yeah,
yeah.
very, very much my way of doing things.
Absolutely. And you mentioned there, as we were talking, two words that I think are very relevant to our charity and our citizen science work, which is to help things survive and thrive.
Yes.
And that's very much part and parcel of what our citizen science volunteering scheme is really sort of trying to underpin for river health. And that's not just water quality, it's the creatures that live within the water along the rivers. So since you started, it's quite recent, I think, that you've got involved, but you've really sort of I think perhaps I might be, don't let me put words into your mouth, but it seems like you've quite fallen in love with doing. So why have you got involved, and what are you finding by being part of it?
Okay, so we moved from Shaftesbury in Dorset down to Cornwall. We're sort of just off the edge of Bodmin Moor this time last year. And
Yeah.
what we didn't know when we moved, so it's a little village, we didn't know that. So I mentioned these little woodlands on the other side of the road, and if I could boil the kettle, and whilst I'm waiting for it to boil, if I just cross the road and walk down through the woods, I come to a stream, and it's a tributary of the River Seaton. I didn't know that, and I just thought, oh my gosh, there's water, fresh running water. And my first thoughts were that I loved it. I fell in love with the running water. I've never lived by a stream or a river before, and so I started walking there every day through the woods. And within a few days, it wasn't me who spotted them, but a builder friend of ours who was staying with us said. So he went for a walk and he came back and he said, you do know you've got dippers in the stream. I thought, oh my goodness, no, I
Oh.
didn't. And I've only ever seen a dipper once before, so I went straight out and started to look. He told me where they were, and I didn't find them that day, but then I did, and I started watching them avidly. I in a way, I would stop short of saying I've become obsessed, but I probably have. Um, and I found their nest sites. So this was last May, April, May, and there's just this little bridgey area, and I started to watch them. I think they because they were taking food back, diving into the river or ducking their heads into the river stream, and sort of crashing something around on stones. I didn't really know what any of this was, so I looked it up and discovered that, as you or anyone who is listening to this will probably know, that dippers survive on aquatic
Mm.
invertebrates, and that they swim underwater to get them. And what I was seeing, because I was looking at them through binoculars and taking endless photographs and video footage, is that they were I could see the dragonfly larvae really, really clearly, and
Mm.
caddisfly.
Oh, wow.
And so I was watching them taking the backs and forwards to the nest. Then, oh my gosh, then I saw, on the very day they fledged, I saw the fledgling dippers. And dippers, I mean, I just adore them. I adore the adults, but yeah, my heart, I just lost my heart to the little fledglings as they bob, bob, bob up and down on the rocks.
Oh.
And so a couple of things happened there at the same time. First of all, because my mind works, well, we all sort of multifaceted, aren't we? But I sort of want
Mm.
to know, I want knowledge, but I also want so they affected my, I was deeply in love with them,
Mm.
but I also wanted to learn about them. So I felt I wanted to learn more about all the aquatic invertebrates.
Mm.
And then, at the same time, so this is last year, there was a lot in the media about the state of our rivers, as you'll know.
Yes.
Terrible, terrible, headlines and articles,
Yeah.
about pollution, about agricultural, runoff, sewage, you
Mm.
name it. And so, of course, I started to worry about the dippers and the health of the
Mm.
stream, which at the moment appears to be really, really good. And I think this happens with a lot of people. If once I said again earlier, if you fall in love with something,
Yeah.
you want to protect it. So again, I was posting a lot of videos and photographs, way too many actually, on my feed, and connecting with a whole tranche of new people who are not bee people, um, and somebody said, "Have you ever thought of joining?" She must have been already a volunteer for the Westcountry River Trust.
Yeah.
So I looked you up and wow,
Brilliant.
it's a no-brainer. Um, and went along for a training session. So I had to so the other side of Plymouth
Yes.
somewhere. I can't remember exactly where, but and I just could not wait to get home and start monitoring. First of all, my
Oh,
little stretch
brilliant.
of stream, but now I've got another one, and I'm going to take on another one as well.
Oh, amazing.
Just and that's why I like the science behind it. I like the fact that I have this little kit.
Yeah.
I feel oh, it sounds a ridiculous thing to say, but I feel pretty sort of grown up and scientific
Yeah.
taking it down
No,
to the river.
no.
Really interesting as well, and very, very people as they walk past want to know what you're doing. So I think that's
Yes.
been brilliant because you can stop and show people. And my grandchildren are involved. They come and do this with me.
Oh,
So
fantastic.
I've just learned so much and about river flies as well. I've learned I'm on an uphill learning curve. I really am,
Yes.
as you say, I've only just started doing this. I think I just at the end of last year, and the
Mm.
weather's been horrendous, so it's been difficult
Yeah.
in the first few months of this year. But
I
um,
feel bad I might be
I love
keeping
it.
you away from doing it today in such glorious, yeah, weather. So
Oh no, but it's I wish, and so I just wish everybody knew about it. I wish more people knew that this simple, wonderful thing you can do just by monitoring and collecting data and
yeah,
submitting it and then letting go and leaving it to the people who know how to use it, and so it builds up this great database for the future. And
absolutely.
I
I
feel I'm
mean,
doing something to help. I really feel, yeah, I really feel good about it. I really like the fact that I can help.
Yeah.
conserve and preserve and keep this beautiful waterway free of, well, I don't know if I can keep it free of pollution, but I can certainly tell if anything goes wrong now,
Yeah.
for the dippers. But now it's more than that. You know, I'm now fascinated by caddisfly. Oh my goodness.
They are amazing. They look, I think they've caddisflies sort of almost end up looking like they're carrying jewels, and I think they've
Yes,
inspired artists and jewelers to
I've
actually,
seen that. I've seen a
yeah,
video of caddisflies that were put in a tank of jewels and gold leaf and end up making a case out of jewels.
yes,
So,
yeah, very bling.
oh, it is. But yeah, and I've also learned more as well, um, sort of from resources that you have on the Westcountry River Trust website, about signs of pollution, invasive species,
Yeah.
plants. So it's just building up from scratch for me, a whole new knowledge base,
Mm.
and I'm enjoying it so much. Yeah, I
Well,
really am.
we truly appreciate your input, and obviously all of our citizen science volunteers' input, and it is always humbling to hear the passion that people have to support the charities' work in this way, and it is truly is so vital to the sort of the data that
Yeah.
we collect. It can really help um, us sort of over long term, be able to monitor and see what's happening in the region's rivers. But we are also sort of working closely with our national organisation, the Rivers Trust, as well, so it
Oh,
can feed into the bigger
yeah.
picture. Um, and so it is so invaluable, the data that our citizen science collect for us, and I would like to give Simon and Lydia, who predominantly look after our citizen science
Yes.
project, a big shout out for this, because they do so much. And you mentioned the resources; they've worked really hard on those, so it's really good to hear that that it's really there and
Well, they're
helping
so useful and
people.
they're fascinating. I think it was Lydia who did the training on the
Yes,
day. I remember now. Yes, it was. Um,
yeah,
but I'd watched the
absolutely.
video she made as well because there are videos.
Yes,
And again, I've learnt a lot from the videos,
brilliant.
as well as all of the sheets that have been made up, the resource sheets. So, well,
Yeah.
I get every bit as much as this as I ever put back, from this. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. That is so lovely, lovely to hear. Um, so you're obviously going to have, by the sounds of it, three water bodies to be looking
Yes.
after. Are they all streams, or have you got
No.
a wetland, or
No, I didn't even think
what's?
about wetland actually. So there's the stream in the village. There's another area of farther downstream because there's a waterworks between us and the other second
Okay.
area, and that's somebody designated that area for me. I mean,
Yeah.
most of the little bit of stream I'm doing is just for my own interest really, and to feed the data back. But then there's the River Seaton just out of Liscard. As you go down on the
Mm.
A38, there's a big helicopter sort of place, and turning down there, I'm also doing another area which has actually been too deep recently to be able to safely go in. Well,
Yes.
I can take the water from the edge. So
Yes.
that's and that was really interesting as well because I kind of expected, um, I expected the results not to be as the water not to be as clean and
Mm.
free of sort of phosphates as the little stream near us, but it was.
Mm.
Um,
Oh, brilliant.
you know, it was really interesting that when you dip that little the thing that's a little bit like litmus paper,
Yes.
we expected um, we expected a different result, and that was we were pleasantly surprised.
Oh,
Um,
fantastic.
so that was good as well. And I do. I've also we talked at the beginning before we started recording about technology. I'm not great with technology, but I have found it's called cartographer, is it?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
I find that pretty easy to use now. It's quite intuitive, which for someone like me, who's not good with technology and forms, it means that
Yes.
I more likely I am going to continue. You know, if that had put me off, that would
Yes.
have been quite limiting, but it's not. It's
Oh, brilliant.
it's quite easy to use.
Oh, fantastic. I am so pleased you're so excited about it. And it is infectious. So I really, really hope that, anyone listening in who's not perhaps heard about our CSI or has seen it but hasn't quite taken the plunge to get in touch and get involved will want to find out more.
Oh, I hope
Um,
so.
yeah, and just being out and about by a river or a stream, and to be honest, whatever the weather, really,
Yes,
ultimately, it's
I
often
know.
a little bit nicer in warm sunshine.
But it
But
changes
if
as
it
well.
changes,
It
yeah,
changes every day, and also every at the times of the year, because when there's the leaves on the tree, because this little patch, obviously does,
yes,
it's very leafy and but bare-ish still now, and it changes, the sound changes as well from season to season. And of course, when there's heavy rainfall and it,
yes,
it gushes. So yeah,
yeah.
it's lovely.
The sound is yeah, it's really,
So
yeah,
healing.
absolutely. Um, yeah. I think we might have to go outside, Bridget, in a minute.
I know, because the sun is. I know, because it's just beautiful. Such a
Yeah.
beautiful day.
So have you got any new plans coming up? Have you got sort of any another book or any sort of
Well,
talks or events, anything
I've
coming
got
up for you?
a number of talks, all bee related, at the moment.
Brilliant.
I did actually. I spoke last weekend, the weekend before, at Shaftesbury Book Festival, and for the first time ever, wow, it took me way out of my comfort zone. Instead of talking about bees, I talked about this. I talked about the dippers. I showed a little video of the dippers and the stream. We
Oh,
talked about the
brilliant.
Westcountry River Trust and also the Riverfly
Oh, brilliant.
partnership.
Yes.
So I'm kind of thinking that will be a really nice way to go, to be able to start, talking more about this, because it's still very new to me. I can't talk with any
Mm,
authority, but I can point people in the right direction. And I am writing a book, but I've ground to a halt because we've moved, and it's really interesting because I was writing about the dippers, but suddenly I realized that I was spending more time when I was with the dippers, thinking about the words I could use to put in the book, and that
mm,
made me really sad. And it just, yeah, not in a that's not a happy way to write a book for me. So
yes.
I've put that on ice, but I will come back to it, and it will be, there will be a lot about the dippers in my next book, whenever I get back to it and get on with it.
Well, I'm really pleased that you are keeping an eye on the dippers, because I believe, and I might be wrong, so please correct me,
Yeah.
anyone, but I think they're on the UK Amber list.
Yeah, not yet the
Um,
red list, thank goodness.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. So, but certainly, as is all nature,
oh,
worth keeping an
I
eye on. So,
know, I know. And I feel very blessed actually that there is that the water is, of good enough quality here that it can support all of these invertebrates that keep the dippers there,
yes,
and
yeah,
yeah, so
that interconnected element of everything, really, isn't it? Sort of
yeah, for
we
so
take.
many people are losing them. And when I post my little, videos or photographs on Twitter, and
Mm,
invariably someone says, "Oh, we used to have dippers in the brook or the stream or the river, at the bottom of the road, but haven't seen them for a few years now," and it's so sad,
oh,
so
yeah,
sad. Yeah.
but
But
glad that you've got some that you can keep an eye on, which is
yes,
brilliant. And you're doing an amazing job with us for the rivers overall as well. So please do keep doing it.
oh, I absolutely will. I love it. I love it.
Fantastic. And if people wanted to, actually, you've mentioned Twitter there, or if they wanted to find out more about your book, I
Oh,
don't know if you've got a website or social media, where can people
I have, yes.
find
So
you?
the easiest, like one-stop shop probably is my Twitter, because I've got
Yeah.
a link to my blog, and I if anyone was interested in my book, you could buy it from my blog, and I can sign it and put a little, bookmark in it. So I'm at capital B
Yep.
underscore Strawbridge. So but if you Googled Brigit Strawbridge Twitter, you'd find me.
You'd
Whatever
come.
the spelling, because it's usually comes up. They
Brilliant.
clever algorithms or whatever. So yes, so there.
That is brilliant. I shall also make sure all those links are in the little podcast text that I'll put with our recording as well, so people can hopefully just very easily click through.
Thank you, Josie. That's really kind.
No problem at all. I've really enjoyed this very short meander. Sort of around and about what what interests you and along sort of the riverbanks. So I just wanted to say a really big thank you for taking the time to have a chat and just share your infectious passion for the outdoors and all the things that live within it. So thank you.
Oh, well, thank you for inviting me. It's been really lovely chatting with you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Brigit, and we'll hopefully catch up again soon.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye then. Bye-bye.